How cool are these? Hey gang, it's Jen C again. I recently sat down with a modern day embroiderer, a self-proclaimed child of Mars. She had some amazing tips on how to start your own Etsy store. Come on.
I'm impressed. Your first few are more consistent than mine. Like I've started out and I've got this one's kind of long and then they're getting shorter and then now mine are staying a little bit more consistent.
It might be the hairstylist in me. I'm super used to measurement,
that's
right?
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And especially those fine details of that's a good point.
So along with embroidery, there's also needlepoint. What's the difference? Do you know anything about needlepoint?
I had to Google it actually, and I Googled it a while ago because a friend of mine said she wanted to get into it too. But it turns out that needlepoint and cross stitch, they're pretty similar, but it's a matter of the fabric weave and the stitch that you use. So cross stitch is with the X. Needlepoint is a bunch of slash stitches. So it's kind of the same filling in a grid, but it's with a different fabric and with different stitching. And then just, embroidery, you kind of do whatever you want. And that's what I like about it, is how freeform you can be.
How often do you stab yourself when you do this? Really? I feel like I could poke myself 100 times.
Probably, I would say maybe a couple of times, once or twice a day that I'm stitching. But usually it's not that bad.
Well, that's good.
My boyfriend will be sitting across the room and he'll excuse me,
he'll
hear me go.
That's the symbol.
That's the sound. But my hands are actually pretty okay right now. I've been doing okay.
I feel like you said that there's another technique to add some other color. Can we try that?
Yes. I just finished up my heart and
perfect.
You've got yours at a nice...
So I'll keep it this, and then maybe you can show...
Sure.
Even the basics of threading maybe a needle.
Absolutely.
That can be a challenge. I've done a lot of cross-stitching, and threading needles is a challenge.
Absolutely.
Everybody gets to see how I can't really see well anymore.
So right here, I'm just finishing it off. I tied a little knot in the back, and I'm going to snip it.
Oh, perfect.
I don't know if you can see it above or not. And the next thing, and I'm glad that you asked this too, because I wanted to show off, I've got this other... It's a little bit lighter, so it's going to be a nice subtle effect.
I like that.
But one of the things, Jen, that I learned early on in my embroidery is that you don't want to use the whole piece of thread. So I'm here it is.
Yeah, so this is called... What is this called?
This is the big name is 6-strand embroidery floss.
Okay.
So it's not something you put in a sewing machine.
Okay.
It's a little too thick for that, but it's 6 strands. So if you're looking at what I'm doing right here, I'm actually separating it. So it's set into 6 really teeny tiny strings. And one thing that I didn't learn until after my first couple projects was it saves a lot of thread and makes your stitches look a little bit neater and nicer. Did I not this? No.
That's
if they're
cool.
all if you cut it down. So I'm using 3 strands for this, but for really detailed work, we'll show it off a little bit later. Some of them I use even less just for the real fine details.
How did you actually get started in embroidery?
Yeah, back when I was little, maybe I want to say maybe 7. This was the very first time, so it's been a while since I had done anything like this, but I did an after-school program at school while my parents were still at work, and they had little activities, and one of them was, it was kind of like a cross-stitch, but it was big so that, little kids' little hands could do it, so the X's were pretty large. But I remember I made a little blue jay. And so that was the first thing, and then I didn't do anything for a long time after that, and I actually got into embroidery as a hobby now, by a coworker of mine at the last office job I worked. We had a little call center room that we would work in sometimes, and she would bring her embroidery projects for their downtime.
Oh.
And I was that is so cool. And I don't know. I'm not great with a pen and pencil, or a pen and paper. I'm not always very confident in my drawing, but this kind of thing, when I picked it up, I felt like it was just something that came a lot more naturally to me.
Okay, so you're all set with yours, and why don't you continue, and I'll just kind of see
absolutely
what you're doing.
So the first thing I did was I poked it up through the bottom right in the first spot where we started the stitching, and then I looped it underneath the stitch, and so that's this whole stitch. It's really fast and it I think has a really cool effect. You're not even like sewing in the fabric at this point. You're just looping it.
You're like
underneath.
weaving it,
Yeah.
sort of, or almost like braiding.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, kind of. And this is called whipped back stitch because it's based on this back stitch that we were just stitching. And then this stitch is called a whip stitch because it's really fast. You can kind of just whip around. And so it's whipped back stitch. And then you have this really nice, it's very subtle with these pinks, but I kind of thought that would be pretty. And it turns into a little like swirly candy cane effect.
I love that.
Yeah, so
that's super pretty. So
very
did you
fun.
actually did you write this or print this on here?
I drew it, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I actually, just for my birthday this year, I got an iPad. I got an iPad, and it was a gift I asked for, but I was like, this is going to be a business investment because drawing on that versus drawing on pen and paper, which is just kind of my poor man's way of making my patterns, it has been a real big difference, and I feel like I can get a lot more precise with making my art, and then it has a nice, it's already backlit, so I can just trace it right onto the fabric.
That is super cool.
So I did this.
I just want to show everybody some of the really cool things that Lydia has done. She made this great SpongeBob, I don't know, little piece of
Just a
art,
hoop,
right?
yeah.
You can just hang it or whatever. So she has some of her work here at Oddity Studio. She made these really awesome buttons. This F off one is my favorite because, for Valentine's Day, you don't always have a Valentine. And yeah, sometimes you just want to be like, bugger off. Some of these ones are really super cool. We've got, like a jack-o'-lantern and some skeletons for the holidays, for Halloween or whatever you want to call it. And
For the
then
holidays.
for the
It's my
holidays,
holiday.
some of these, okay, this, one of my favorites. It is a little soy sauce bottle. And this one has a patch, but she's got these little buttons that are sushis. Look at them. They're so stinking cute.
I want to eat them.
I want to eat them.
I just kind of want to pop it in my mouth.
And in support of our community, we've got some fabulous rainbows. I know you have your stuff at Oddity Studio here in Rochester, New York, and having a store on Etsy helps you expand yourself into a global marketplace. So for somebody like me, if I had a craft or something, how easy is it to set up an Etsy site?
Etsy is so easy. I feel like it's one of the most user-friendly. I don't have a lot of experience with other selling, places to sell online, but the experience I've had is really user-friendly. I can run my whole business on my phone if I want to.
Wow.
There's an app for sellers. You can download the app and it'll show you, how to upload your listings, and it'll give you tips. Being a seller on Etsy also gives you access to, they have a seller's handbook, they call it, and so they'll email you, or you can access it within the app of their tips and tricks for how to optimize selling on Etsy. Terms of tagging your listings with relevant tags so people can search for them, or here's smart discount and sale tactics that you can use to pull people in. So it's very user friendly.
That's so great.
Yeah, and I feel like especially with lightweight things like this, they do take a Etsy. Anywhere's going to take a seller's fee.
Absolutely.
But I feel like with small things like this, it kind of just offsets my shipping.
Perfect.
So for me especially, I think for a business like this, it's really
great.
Yeah.
I have another question. How do you actually get people to go to your Etsy store?
I feel like that's the real kicker in that.
Is it?
I feel like Etsy is for me anyway, and for other people it might not be this way, but Etsy is kind of the hub, the end point, and a lot of what I'm doing to build my store is elsewhere on social media or elsewhere in the community. And so what works for me really well is to kind of have a wide breadth of where I'm posting my work. I've been expanding to posting, I post on Instagram, I just made a Facebook page and Twitter, and I post on Reddit, and all sorts of different places that, so lots of people can see, and also picking out your niches, I think is a really helpful thing. So I make a lot of, I've got LGBT things here, so I might post in LGBT communities online.
I love that idea.
People who, I know they're going to be looking for work that's like mine, and you know, I'm not just still kind of shouting into the void. I feel like that's a lot
Right,
of what like online
right.
selling is, but it's shouting into a much more specific void, and that's how I've made a lot of my sales, is just going into a really specific community online.
That is so cool.
And just putting yourself out there, I think, is really the way to draw people in. Oh, and TikTok is huge nowadays. I don't really use that app myself, but
Okay.
they're big on Instagram too. Instagram is having a lot of TikTok style videos called Reels, and so I've been making a lot of those. And a lot of people, it gets like Instagram says they want you to make Reels because they get you more views, and so I gave my tried my hand at that, and I was like, I don't know how I'll feel about this, and it turned out to be super fun.
We're gonna show my favorite reel of yours in this video because
good.
it is
Yes.
epic.
Just take a chance on me. I'm like supermarket sushi. I'm not what you expect. No, I won't make you sick. You give me a shot. I know I'm what you are. Salmon to the Fisher cut. Cute.
Your reels are amazing.
Thank you.
You need to find her on Instagram for sure. Now that you've told these secrets, watch out. Snitches get stitches.
Just get stitches.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that little bell so you get notified when my videos are coming out. Lydia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Jen.
I love having you here, and we'll see you soon.